You can head on to the movies this weekend because a new rated R film gives us a look at what puppets are up to when the kids aren't watching.
I've always been curious about that. And Mark Wahlberg stars in a new thriller loaded with action. Film critic Michael Cook's here with two good films. Maybe, hopefully.
We'll find out.
Let's see.
Well, the first one to talk about is called The Happytime Murders. First and foremost, let me say, this is not a kid's movie. It has puppets in it, but do not take your kids to this because it is very vulgar in every which way you can think of. The basic plot line is there's a puppet detective named Phil Phillips who used to be a cop, and in this world, it's set in Los Angeles. The puppets and the humans live side by side, although the puppets are basically second-class citizens. It's never quite explained how the puppets came to be or where they came from. Or
they always have been.
Exactly, they're just there. There is a series of murders. The Happytime was a puppet television show, and somebody is killing all the former stars. And there you see Melissa McCarthy. She teams up with her former police puppet detective, Phil Phillips, and they set out on a mission to figure out who is killing these puppet former stars all at the same time, trying to figure out the mystery. Lots of foul language, lots of, I'll just put it mildly, adult situations in this movie. A lot of cussing. Melissa McCarthy and Maya Rudolph are some of the action, along with Elizabeth Banks. Look. This is not a good movie. let me just break it down.
Would Mama even be proud?
Mama would be embarrassed if the director, they would pretend like it never existed. There's one or two funny laughs in this movie, but the bottom line is it's a comedy that's just not funny. And it just drags on and you get bored. It's so boring you're starting to wonder like how these puppets came to be and all these things because you're not entertained. So I don't recommend it. I only give it a 4 out of 10 just because I had a few laughs in it. So just skip this movie. The next movie to talk about is called Mile 22. Stars Mark Wahlberg. There you see he is the leader of an elite paramilitary group, part of the kind of the CIA. In this movie, they are in a fictional Indonesian country, and they have to escort a man who has information on some nuclear substances that, if it gets out, will destroy the world with people melting on street corners. And the Mile 22 is they have to take him from the American embassy to the airport, which is 22 miles away, hence the name. And of course, on these 22 miles, basically everybody is trying to kill them, throw bombs at them, shoot, whatever thing you can think of happens in these Mile 22 movie. Unfortunately, I'm going to say August is sort of the dumping ground for bad movies, and this one falls into it. This is just an action film that just leaves you bored. And the way they cut the scenes, it's so confusing. You don't even know at times who's fighting because they just have these close-up scenes that could have been great, but that are just sort of convoluted and not very interesting. This is the 4th time that Mark Wahlberg and the director Peter Berg have gotten together and done a film. The other 3 are pretty good. This one, unfortunately, is a waste of time. I wouldn't drive 2 miles to see this movie, let alone 22. I give it a 4 out of 10.
All right, so the movies are bad. When Michael Cook comes in, he always tweets out that he's going to be reviewing these on Fox 16. He didn't tweet. He's like, forget it.
I've saved you 4 hours of your life.
Well, you know what? I appreciate that because I do not.
Michael, you get a 10 for that.
Thank you.
Yes, you do. All right, we'll be right back in just